Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, a fully loaded show. We have Chris Eyre talking about his Jim Thorpe documentary, Lit by Lightning. Fisher Stevens and Matthew O. Henderson talking about their documentary, A King Like Me. Plus, Kimberly Sustad talks Hallmark Channel Christmas at Sea. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek and Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And for those of you driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are watching us, we are streaming. Joey V's not in studio, but he is streaming this. So if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can still hear the audio there. Although, it's probably better if you don't have to see me, honestly. Let's be honest. Face for radio and all that. And if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form, whatever platform you get your podcast, thank you very much for finding us there. Hopefully you've enjoyed listening to us and you've got that nice back catalog to go through and listen to. If this is your very first show, welcome. Check out all of our other shows. You can go to geektomeradio.com and go through the archives there, or youtube.com/geektomeradio. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers here before the end of summer, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. A full show tonight. We're going to get right to it. My first guest is the owner of Toyman Toyshow. We've got joining us right now, Chris McQullen. How are you, sir?
Doing good. What's going on tonight?
Well, just getting excited about next week. We've got the Toyshow out there at the Machinists Hall at Bridgeton on the Rock Road in 270, and kind of wanted to talk to you about what's going on there.
Oh, man. Next show is July 13th. We actually have, and some people may not know this, the movie Hellraiser Judgment. Paul T. Taylor, who was Pinhead himself, will be attending the Toyman show. And we have a second celebrity guest, which is Patricia Patz, which is Peppermint Patty, voice actress during Charlie Brown and Peanuts from the 60s. So we have a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, and being brought two celebrity guests to Toyman for our next event.
I think if there was a fight between Peppermint Patty and Pinhead, I'm putting my money on Peppermint Patty, quite honestly.
I don't know. Think about what Peppermint Patty and what kind of stuff that she's done to Charlie Brown.
I know.
So you never know what Peppermint Patty's able to do.
I think it's interesting. I know, obviously, we've been so lucky in recent years, probably the past really the past 15, but maybe going back 20, 25 years, that we've gotten a lot of merchandise that I never would have thought I would have seen. Obviously, the McFarlane toys that have come out, they've got those horror icons like Freddy and like Pinhead and like Jason, all these things like that. But we've also seen a wave of the Funko Pops have given every possible licensed product. We've seen Charlie Brown and everything like that. So there's a lot of stuff if people want things signed by either of these celebrities that people can bring.
Oh, definitely. And if I remember this past year, Hallmark had a whole new licensing for Peanuts. So for all those people out there trying to think, hey, what are we going to get for Peppermint Patty? There's a lot of Hallmark items out there that were newly licensed stuff. So yeah, go to your local, I hate to say Target, or Walmart, or even your local toy stores that we have several of our listeners that already attend some of these toy shops in Illinois, Missouri, and other states. Bring those items with you because these are two separate signers that are amazing. And this isn't a Comic-Con where you have 90 seconds with them. You can actually have a conversation. That's one thing that Toyman brings to these guests. We truly have more time with our celebs because we have that capability to do that in this kind of format. We don't have 20 guests. We have one or two.
Right. No, and I loved your last one for May the 4th weekend. Same with Rory Ross. Like, I've gotten to talk to him several times on the show, but I hadn't had a chance to meet him. And we sat there and chatted for probably a good 15 minutes or so. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you got other people lining up, but you do get that FaceTime.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that the smaller shows can give. I mean, for one, admission's $5 versus $100. We don't have 20 celebs, but we do have 8 shows a year. And if you figure 2 celebrities per show, you're looking at 16 to 18 guests a year.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's local. The price hasn't gone up. It's always been $5 to get in, which is great. But we want to point out too, if you want to get in there a little early and get some good deals, there is a slightly more expensive, not by much, an early bird price. It's a full hour earlier.
Yeah, it's an hour early, and you get a really good signing by our celebs.
Yeah, exactly. You'll beat the crowds for that too. You get that done and then browse the rest of the time if you want. So it's however you want to play it. I usually try to have conversations with you each time we have you on to talk a little bit about toys that are in the vein of what we have. Like we talked about Star Wars toys on May the 4th. I'm always fascinated by the amount of toys, and you wouldn't think of them, for horror movies. Now we're getting all these things, and that wouldn't have been, I mean, there were some model cases, I guess. Am I overlooking some more vintage toys from the 70s, 80s that were kind of focused around horror-type icons and characters?
Yes, I mean, you're going to see, if you don't follow Toyman, you need to start. These people that are on the radio that have never heard of it, you need to start following, because we're going to start seeing a whole new faces and a whole lot new stuff happening at Toyman. It's going to be unbelievable. Just follow and watch.
Yeah, and it's you can YouTube or Facebook. Facebook is where usually I direct people if they haven't heard of you. I was like, go check them out on Facebook. But all the videos that people put up on YouTube for the when they're at the shows and they're just walking through and filming stuff.
Oh, definitely. And then you know what? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you put your own videos on YouTube. No, Toyman does not put videos. I let everyone else brag about Toyman. If you haven't heard what Toyman is, just ask a collector that's from the St. Louis area. And it's not me, it's my vendors. And that if it wasn't been around 30 years, you know, it's just unbelievable. 35 years. How many years have we been? So 1990. So we're 2025. So we're looking at the 35 years of toys, 8 times a year. That's a lot of events.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think it's one of the things, too, you do bring back fan favorites, but like Peppermint Patty has not been in one of these events before. You had the voice of Lucy on, and she was delightful. You had her at the beginning of the year, but you're not one of those people it's always the same guest at every show. You really have such a great variety of people you bring in.
Yes. And we may be having Charlie Brown later this year. So maybe... Charlie Brown himself is going, Duncan. He is going to be at Toyman in the near future. Yeah, and we actually have a Kenner toy designer coming later this year. I can't drop some other names. I don't have signed contracts yet. But if you ever watch the TV show called Diagnosis Murder that had Dick Van Dyke and that Charlie Slater, I don't know, Charlie Slater may show up at Toyman, because if you know Charlie Slater, he's a voice actor for Flash. Yeah,
the George Burns movie, 18 again.
Yeah, so yes, we've already. I don't have a signed contract about Charlie, but we were already in the talks about having him at Toyman.
Oh, that's exciting, because he voiced Flash in Superman the animated series before Michael Rosenbaum got the role.
Correct. So, and I would say Diagnosis Murder, but for me, I mean, it was like that's how everybody knows him. Right. But for everyone else in the DC and Marvel world, for the toys, he's Flash. He's the early Flash. And so watch Toyman. We got all new people coming. Some of our fan favorites. But we're definitely we're changing up our routine.
And the amount of vendors, this is something I always bring up with you on the air, but I can't stress it enough, because some people, this, again, I always say this might be the first time someone's listening to Geeks Me Radio. Every show might be someone's first show. So maybe if you're listening to this is the first time you've heard of Toyman, which kind of hard to believe, like a little over 30 years now. But for people who haven't been, they're thinking, it's just toys. No. There's posters. There was some person last, I think it was in May, maybe the one before in March, they had nothing but Hot Wheels. So if you're a car collector, if you have model kits, there's a guy who has vintage movie posters. So there's a little something for everyone.
Oh, and then we have all our artisans. We have there's art my crafters upstairs, that one of a kind glass etching items, artists, Sean Manning. I mean, and then we have an artist from heavy metal that comes to the show all the time, Joe Growers. So we actually have a lot of different wrestling coming into Toyman too. So we have some wrestling people there too. We have some great artists. Heroes for Kids, which is a show that's going to be on in about a couple weeks. That's going to be down in southern Missouri. So we try to have the longest running, the widest variety of not just toys, but comic and collector events in the St. Louis market in the Midwest. It's about having fun. It's, where big kids can come and to be a kid again. Really, it is.
Yeah, and like I said, I just like to go. You can always just go people watch too. Maybe toys aren't your thing, but there's always a really interesting group of people out there. But it's one of those things, like you said, you're going to find something no matter how old you are, because there are people I know who are a good 10 and 20 years older than me who go there and look for stuff from their childhood. And then we've got people who are 10, 15 years younger than me looking for stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s from the toys they want. And you'll find something that fits that huge range of ages.
Yes. And I'm going to add one more thing. And right now, it's the biggest hype right now, is Magic the Gathering and Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
We have probably a good 3 to 4 vendors that have changed over their toy stuff over to Pokemon and for Magic. So if you're into Pokemon and Magic, you need to come to Toyman. That is going to be a really big market for you. And some of the biggest vendors in St. Louis, and one in particular that's called Blue Glove from TikTok, he even has a table at Toyman. And he even talks about his stuff on his TikTok page. Toyman's on TikTok. It's unbelievable. I have a lot of followers even there, and Instagram and website and Facebook. Toyman's out there, and so are my vendors. If you don't take my word for it, coming to see Toyman, ask a vendor, ask someone from St. Louis, say, hey, what's this about Toyman? And even if they give you a negative result, see for yourself.
Yeah.
Then people on there give you bad ratings, like, oh, it's nothing but toys. Good for you, because that's exactly what we do.
How is that a bad thing? It's nothing but toys. What were you expecting? It's called Toyman.
I know, right?
But to be fair, though, like I mentioned, all the other things there's also people who bring comic books. So I found some really, really great comic books and some great deals on comic books at your show. There's someone there who has vintage video game stuff. So if you're looking for a rare NES game, maybe a Super Nintendo game, or even an original PlayStation game, there's people there who have the actual consoles too. There's a guy who sets up, not against the wall where your desk is, but kind of across from it, who's got a lot of older games going, Sega Genesis, all these kind of cool games like that. So it's not just toys, to whatever that guy's problem was who wrote that review for you. There's a lot of other really cool stuff as well.
Oh, yeah. And then not including John Chafee, Bigfoot Comics. We have Spike Forrester, which is for the comic people. So, I mean, there's everything from vintage toys to comics. If you don't find it at Toyman, you're not asking the vendors.
Yeah.
Because a vendor can't bring everything that they have. If you can't find it, it doesn't exist. And if someone at Toyman doesn't know about something, find another vendor, because we'll be able to find it for you.
And to that exact point, I can't tell you, Chris, how many times I've attended as a guest, and I've gone up and I'm kind of looking at stuff. Hey, you looking for something? I said, well, you got some G.I. Joes here, but I'm specifically looking for the action figure Lowlight with the rifle. Oh, you know what? I'll bring it to the next show. Sure enough, the guy brought it to the next show. So that's something too. Like you said, ask the vendors. If they don't have it there and they don't have a brick and mortar, which some people don't, let them know and they will bring it to the very next show and you'll be able to get it. And it saves you all that shipping fee. Oh, I got it off of eBay, but it doesn't look the same as it did online. You're right there. You see it, you take it home and you're done.
Yep. Oh, and you know what? I want to mention this since I have your and I don't think I told you yet. Steve Levine. Ninja Turtles, remember him?
Yes.
He's coming back to Toyman.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, is that this
Sergeant
year?
Peppers. He designed this year. Sergeant Peppers. And God, what's that? Was it called Power Rangers? God,
I've heard of it. Power Rangers.
Yeah, Power Rangers. Yeah, I
think I've
think
heard
I
of
might have
that.
had some connections with the Power Rangers maybe coming up in this coming up year. And I hate to say coming up year because unfortunately we're always looking at that. But I do believe I heard something about, I don't know, Carla Perez maybe even coming up next year, or Davis Fielding, Zordon maybe even showing up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I'm telling people Toyman's going to be the place to be able to meet and greet with these wonderful celebrities of all these wonderful toys that we've been collecting. And if you're not getting pushed along, that you do it with Comic Cons. Toyman it's going to be a whole new effort on Toyman.
This is exciting. And for those of you who are listening, maybe you just tuned in again, Chris McQullen, owner of Toyman Toy Show. You can find them on Facebook. Just Google Toyman. Facebook's usually the best place to send them, right?
Definitely. Toyman or toymanshow.com. You got Toyman STL for Gmail. I can be found. My phone number that I'm talking to right now is on 10,000 flyers a year. So if you ever need anything like that, feel free to question me, call me up, text me. If you have a toy that you don't know a history on, message me. We'll see what we can find for you.
And if Chris doesn't know, he's got access to a lot of great people like Spike, who you mentioned, that Lost in Space guy who's super knowledgeable about toys as well. So Chris has experts at his disposal. If he doesn't know the answer, he can get it. And again, it's Sunday the 13th, 1 week from today. Early bird starts at 8. Otherwise, regular admission starts at 9 a.m. $5 gets you in the door. Seeing am I correct, over 300 vendors?
We have approximately 300 vendors. It will be about 220 tables.
Wow. So there you
So it's going to be big. And we've been sold out for weeks.
My gosh. So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, if you're even a collector, if you're looking, you know what? And I'll say this too, if you're looking to sell your stuff, maybe you've got toys and you're like, boy, I need to get rid of this. Go talk to some of these people and tell them what you've got, because you'll probably find a buyer for your stuff, no matter who it is. And you might be able to walk out of Toyman with cash if you're selling your stuff. That's another great thing.
Definitely. My vendors are not just selling, but they're also buying as well.
So check it out again next Sunday the 13th. Mark it on your calendar and take a flyer home when you leave so you can mark every single one coming up, because he's got another probably at least 5 shows he's going to do this year. Chris McQullen, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Sunday.
See you next Sunday. Everybody out there in Radio Land, come back and see us.
There you go. Thanks very much, Chris. Take care.
No problem.
There he goes. Again, it's a lot of fun. And if you're a series collector, if you're just kind of like, it'd be kind of cool to get some stuff from my childhood in, check it out. You'll have a blast. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We're going to come right back, and we will be playing my interview, Chris Eyre, his documentary, Jim Thorpe, Lit by Lightning. This is something you're going to want to see on Netflix. I'm sorry, this one's on the History Channel. We'll tell you all about that. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Please stand by.
Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant has been a staple in St. Charles for 35 years. Our comfortable, casual atmosphere offers some of the best comfort food you've ever had. Customers might know our delicious breakfast, but you can have whatever you want, anytime you want, with our full menu 24 hours a day. Nothing warms your heart like Gingham's famous vegetable soup, and we can cater your event, too. If you like homestyle food and great friendly service, you'll love Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. 636-946-0266 or ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Memorial Day weekend is around the corner, and Total Wine & More is here for all the summer fun ahead. Firing up the grill with a refreshing seltzer or ice-cold beer, cranking up those tunes while mixing up your favorite cocktails, Total Wine has everything you need to keep the good times going this Memorial Day weekend. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Hey, this is Brian O'Halloran. You might know this voice from such great films as Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, Chasing Amy, the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. I want to let you know about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Of course, the website, discoverstcharles.com. Check them out, all the cool things there are to do. Now that we are officially in summer, it's warm out, you want to get outside, have some fun, no better place to spend it than historic St. Charles. Whether you're bike riding the Katy Trail, whether you're sitting on the patio at Salt and Smoke, enjoying an old-fashioned and some of their burnt ends and things like that, you can get off the menu there. A great time is had by all. There's always something going on, too, whether it's one of their festivals like Legends and Lanterns in the fall, Christmas traditions in the winter months, or if you want to experience Once Upon a Valentine's Day, their brand new festival, or just one of their things like food truck days in Frontier Park, or their ice sculpting event in January. There's always something very cool going on. Go to the website, discoverstcharles.com. I keep using Dan Reba as my new touchstone for this because I do this live read, and I've been doing it now for almost 9 years now in August, because they've been with me that long as a sponsor. And Dan Reba has been a guest on the show several times, very talented guy. We brought him in for Two Rivers Comic Con, which of course I held in St. Charles, because why wouldn't I? And Dan Reba told me at dinner, he said, you know what? You've undersold this place. This place is spectacular. So whether you're coming in from California on the West Coast like Dan Reba, whether you're an East Coast person, whether you're down south in Georgia, maybe you're up north like Outdoors Dan in Iowa, haven't been to downtown St. Charles for a while, no matter where you are, Alton, Shrewsbury, doesn't matter. Check it out. Go visit those cobblestone streets, those historic buildings, have some great food in dozens and dozens of fantastic restaurants and eateries. Just pop into Kilwins and get an ice cream cone. Beat the summer heat that way. Not a bad place to eat up and down the street, and not a bad way to spend an afternoon or an evening. DiscoverStCharles.com is the website you'll want to check out first. Plan your trip, look at the restaurants, look at the shops, and go out there and spend some money at these small businesses. You'll feel better about yourself spending money in the small businesses than you would going to a big box store, and you'll get a much more thoughtful and unique gift or keepsake from these stores like First Capital Trading Inc. or like Chuck and Lou and Cozy Shop. Check it out. Once again, discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. We're going to play some interviews because, again, Joey V is not in studio with me. He is streaming. So those of you who are listening to this on YouTube or Facebook, you're seeing this live. Hello. We've got several of you, like our friend Chance Bartels down in Atlanta, Georgia. Steve Holman's watching it. Yo, 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 yourself, Steve. Our friends at Mostly Superheroes have checked in. Hello, gentlemen. And Joseph Rogers also watching tonight. So thank you, all of you, for tuning in and checking out Geeks Me Radio. I have the chance during the week to do these quick press hits, and they'll say, hey, we've got Chris Eyre, who's this director and producer. He's got this new documentary called The Jim Thorpe Story, Lit by Lightning, debuting on History Channel. Would you like to talk to him? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, because I love history. And this whole story I start going down rabbit holes when I do my due diligence and research before I have these interviews. I'm like, this is so fascinating. Hopefully you'll find it the same way. Here is my interview with Chris Eyre talking about The Jim Thorpe Story, Lit by Lightning. I'm so pleased to have award-winning director Chris Eyre on the show, talking about a brand new feature, Jim Thorpe, Lit by Lightning, premiering on History Channel as of the 7th of July. Chris, thanks for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. This kind of ticks a lot of boxes for people. It's got sports. It's got a Native American culture. A lot of things, especially in the summer. You know, people think about the Summer Olympics and everything. This goes back to 1912 for the history buffs. Talk a little bit about how you became attached to this project.
That's right. It centers around the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden, in which Jim Thorpe, the greatest athlete ever, wins 2 gold medals, one in the decathlon and one in the pentathlon. And I got involved in Jim Thorpe Lit by Lightning through a phone call in which History and LeBron James and Maverick Carter inquired about my interest in joining their team. And when you have people like LeBron James, you know, endorsing the fact that Jim Thorpe was the greatest athlete ever, and he's a GOAT himself, you start to realize, you know, generationally, what I'm excited about is people see Jim Thorpe in the way that I saw him, you know, when I grew up in the 70s, which is the greatest athlete of all time. So when you get people like that, you know, that are asking you to join the team, you recognize that I think that Jim Thorpe's story is worthy of being retold again, and for a generation of people that may not know his name.
And that's very true, because a lot of people, he's not the common name people think about when people think about Olympics. There's obviously, people think about the one in Germany, in Munich. People think about the one with the bombing in 92. This is a person who went on to do baseball, football, basketball, just an incredible athlete all around, which is something you don't see anymore. What do you think is it that something this extraordinary hasn't gotten the limelight that it deserves?
Well, I think it's just a matter of the busyness of our world today, which is, the internet has so much information that I think that we've at times, forgotten some of the things that we had, a couple decades before. Like I said, in the 70s, this was a household name and a thought that everybody knew that Jim Thorpe was the greatest athlete ever. When I went back and looked at it, you can still compare all of these achievements and different categories of sports, and there's nobody that does what Jim Thorpe does. I mean, the closest thing we might have are people like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, but, Jim Thorpe's accomplishments, even in comparison to those two, are head and shoulders above that. He was, I'm told a good ballroom dancer. He played basketball. He played professional baseball. His real sport was football. When he was at the Carlisle Indian School, they played collegiate teams, and he beat the likes of teams that he never should have beaten, and he gained worldwide acclaim in the press, newspapers, by beating teams like Penn State and then Harvard and then Army. Army had Dwight Eisenhower, who would go on to be president of the United States. And Eisenhower actually wrote a telegram to his wife when Jim Thorpe passed away in 1953 about how great Jim Thorpe was and that he had never seen anybody like him before on the football field. He went on to become the first president of the American Football League, which would later become the NFL. So he was a touchstone to the NFL today. His team in football won 9 championships, was the Canton Bulldogs. And like I said, he was named the greatest athlete in the world by the King of Sweden in 1912 when he won the decathlon with 15 events. And then he won the decathlon and the pentathlon, in one Olympics in 1912. So, when you put together all the amalgamation of his athletic achievements, there's really no one that compares in modern time or historic recorded time to Jim Thorpe.
When you've got kings of other countries and U.S. presidents endorsing you as the greatest athlete ever, I think that says something for sure. My goodness. When you do research on stuff like this, obviously anything I take on, I kind of go down rabbit holes and everything. What was it as you're digging into Jim Thorpe's story that surprised you the most personally?
I think when I dug into Jim Thorpe's story, the thing that surprised me the most was his upbringing. He was born on the Sac and Fox Indian Reservation, and he was named Bright Path in Sac and Fox because the night of his birth, there were torrential rain and thunder all around, the house in which his mother bore him, and they named him Bright Path. And an interesting anecdote was that when I was making this, the casting director called me and said, "You have to see this performer to play Jim Thorpe." And I said, "Great." And I took a look and I called and I said, "This guy looks just like Jim Thorpe." And it was a gentleman from Oklahoma, lo and behold, named Dukon Harris, who's in the movie. And she said, it gets even better. He's actually also Sac and Fox Indian like Jim Thorpe.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, I just had this ray of light kind of hit me, maybe from Jim Thorpe, that we were on the right path. And, with his name Bright Path, I said, I'm on to something here. I better follow my gut. So Dukon Harris plays Jim Thorpe, in the movie. He's not a full-time performer, but he was the guy, and he's the guy in the movie, and he does an incredible job. But, to answer your question, better, the things that surprised me that I didn't know were basically just about his childhood. He grew up with the natural training ground of the Great Plains in Oklahoma. They said, he swam in the mighty Missouri River and broke wild horses as a young person. But then, the losses that he had in his life, he lost his twin brother at 9, and he lost both parents by 11. He was taken to Indian boarding school at Haskell and ran away multiple times. And he was finally taken by train to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where he couldn't run away back home. And I think at that point in his life, he found sports. And one of the greatest stories about that were, so Jim Thorpe was walking by the high jump pit at Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and he was in overalls and boots, and he asked, "What is that?" The track and field team said, "That's the high jump, and none of us can clear the top mark." And Jim Thorpe said, "Can I try?" And they put it at the school record, and without a warm-up, he ran towards the high jump and sailed over the top mark, the record at Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And everyone was aghast and mouths open. And they ran and got Pop Warner, who was not only the football coach of fame, but he was the track and field coach. And he had Jim Thorpe do it again. Jim Thorpe cleared the bar. He took him to his office, and he handed him a uniform and said, "You're now on the track team." And that is the beginning of his career in athletics. And those were things I didn't quite know about until I started researching it.
You worked on so many fantastic projects, starting with your directorial debut, Smoke Signals, but you've worked on Law & Order SVU, Friday Night Lights. I want to ask about AMC's Dark Winds. You've served as a director on 10 different episodes, executive producer on 15. It's set, people just can't get enough of this series. Now we've got season 4 coming out. What is it as a director that draws you to a story, that makes you find stories, whether it's Dark Winds or whether it's the Jim Thorpe story, that makes a story for you worthwhile to be told?
That's a great question. I think, when I look at Dark Winds and I look at Jim Thorpe, there's a parallel in that, and this is tongue in cheek, I think Joe Leaphorn from Dark Winds, his favorite athlete is Jim Thorpe, and I think I can say that, given that Dark Winds takes place in the 70s, and we all knew that Jim Thorpe was the greatest athlete ever. So Joe Leaphorn's favorite athlete is Jim Thorpe. But what I can say is that they both have this three-dimensionality to their persona that I'm trying to get at as a filmmaker, which is, who are these people? In Dark Winds, Emma and Joe Leaphorn, we all want to know whether they make it or not, in their marriage and in their family, and we root for them. And I think Jim Thorpe is the same thing. I look at his history and the time and place he grew up, and I admire the fact that it's not about him focusing on the racism or the bias. It's about him translating those things into sports and coming out victorious despite where it was and time and place he grew up. And I think that people admire those qualities. So basically in both of these characters, Joe Leaphorn and Jim Thorpe, they just strive to do better, and we root for them. And I think they have similarities. I think it's pretty interesting.
Absolutely. And if you are listening to this right now, again, Jim Thorpe, Lit by Lightning, premieres Monday, July the 7th. You can catch it on the History Channel. Chris Eyre, I so appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. Take care. There he goes. Make sure you check that out. It looks like it's going to be a great project on the History Channel. Chris Eyre, director, Lit by Lightning. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back in just a moment. We'll be playing my interview with Fisher Stevens and Matthew Henderson, talking about their New Orleans-based documentary appearing on Netflix, A King Like Me. You won't want to miss that. Plus, we still have my conversation with Kimberly Sustad. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hey, it's John Carney. A lot of conversations with the folks over at Allen Roofing, pretty much asking advice, because I know a lot of people got smacked by that storm, and he had some great advice for people to think about. First off, be careful of who you talk to when you're going to get some work done. Make sure there's an agreement and the scope of work is laid out in that contract. Also, as you can imagine, a lot of contractors are busy. Give them some time. And you know what? Allen Roofing will come put a tarp on your roof at no charge, even if you don't use them when you get the roof repaired. Also, check the Better Business Bureau. See what the reviews are for contractors that you deal with. And also remember, insurance companies allow up to an entire year from the date of loss to file a claim. So you've got time to get those repairs done and that replacement done. Don't rush it. Just a few tips from the people that know roofing and repairs better than anyone. It's Allen Roofing, online at aroofing.net.
Yo, Joe!
Hi, this is Mary McDonald Lewis, and I was the voice of Lady J on G.I. Joe.
Hi, this is Bill Radner. I'm the voice of Flint on G.I. Joe, and listening to Geek to Me Radio.
It's half the battle.
G.I. Joe against Cobra, the enemy, fighting to save the day. He never can stop.
As an 80s kid, I gotta say, having that return liner from Bill Ratner and Mary McDonald Lewis makes me extremely happy. I'm not gonna lie. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. Let me make sure I tell you about the place to go for comic books. If you are looking to get new comic books, maybe you want to start a new pull and hold. Maybe you want to go get some back issues. Maybe you're going to go check out, and hey, you know what? G.I. Joe comic books. I used to have those. Let me go see if I can find some of those. Let me recommend Bugs Comics and Games. You can check them out on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. Easily accessible from either Highway 70 or from Highway 364. Pop in there and browse the boxes and boxes and boxes of back issues. I used to go to Larry, the owner, when he had his store over on West Florissant, because I'm a North County kid. You may have heard me mention that once or twice on the show before. But I used to ride my bike up to his place before I ever had my driver's license. Shows you how long I've been going. He took a break from running a comic book shop for a while, taught theater, and now he's back at it. And I couldn't be happier to hear now, I won't say how many years later, still going to Larry to get my comic books. Bugs Comics and Games. Follow them on Instagram, Bugs Comics, AND Games, on Facebook as well, and give the page a like on Facebook. If you're looking for something like, boy, there's the variant for this particular issue of Mark Spears Monsters, or man, I wish I could get this omnibus or anything, check Larry's Instagram at Bugs Comics and Games, because sometimes he'll pop his stuff up there on Instagram and be like, oh, I was looking for that exact thing. Go ahead and get it. Send him a message. Say, hey, I want to get that one. He'll send you a PayPal invoice. You pay the invoice. He ships that item right to your door. It's like having your local comic book shop online. If you're looking to get some back issues, some toys, some games, he's got a lot of stuff in store, not just comic books. And maybe you're looking to divest yourself of your collection. You've gotten to that point where your collection's either too big, or you just don't, I'm going to downsize because none of my kids are going to want this stuff. Go talk to Larry, and he'll give you a very fair price for your collection. So check him out, whether you're buying or selling. And of course, if you're buying, make sure you're putting your pull and hold list with him to tell him which items or which comic books you want to make sure you don't miss. So, hey, I want to make sure I get Uncanny X-Men that Gail Simone's writing this now. Or, hey, I want to make sure I got that aforementioned Mark Spears Monsters comic, because that sells out pretty quick too. Or maybe you want the latest Rick Remender, The Seasons, that was out from Image. Check them out and say, hey, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to get a pull list, and then join the Avengers Club. That way you save money on your weekly comics, too. You also save money on your back issues, toys and games and other things as well. But, in this economy, don't sacrifice your hobby for saving money. Do both. Save some money and enjoy your comic books. Bugs, Comics, and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. We now have my next interview. Actor Fisher Stevens and director, producer, camera guy Matthew Henderson. It's Henderson. He's not Irish, just to be clear. They've got a new documentary on Netflix. I love New Orleans. We'll talk a little bit about that in the interview. But this is an interview that, I should say, a documentary you're going to want to check out on Netflix. If you're a documentary fan, you'll love this one, A King Like Me. And I'm here talking with these gentlemen about that project. Right now, we're joined by executive producer Fisher Stevens and director Matthew Henderson of the Netflix documentary A King Like Me. Gentlemen, thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you.
Of course. No, I love New Orleans. I had a friend who went to Tulane University, so his 4 years there, I would go down every single year, usually for Jazz Fest, Halloween, Mardi Gras, and seeing the Zulu parade was a highlight of Fat Tuesday itself. Matthew, talk a little bit about growing up in New Orleans, just the culture that oozes out of every building and nook and cranny of the city.
Oh, that was the most amazing thing for me because I am actually not a native New Orleanian. I am born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And I think that that separation from this culture, gave me a window in to be curious about a culture, about a tradition, about a city that I previously, to making this film, only really had a transactional relationship with. I would go down there for work, spend a couple, 2-3 days down there, hit up all of the touristy sites, and then I would leave. But, during the 5 years that we made this film, I was embedded into a culture and went to the back streets, hanging out at the Zulu Club. You get an authentic slice of New Orleanian Black brotherhood that was so incredible for me. What I saw in the halls of the Zulu Club were my uncles, were my cousins, were my brothers. And I think that really opened the story up for me. And what we attempted to do with this film was, yes, it is a story that is centered in New Orleans with the Zulu Club around Mardi Gras. But we really hope that this film allows people to see themselves, in this experience. So for me, it was absolutely an exceptionally incredible experience.
I apologize. I thought I read that you'd lived there for an extended period of time. Maybe that was just during the production. But like I said, just the few times I visited, it almost became a second home to me. I love the city. And having spent the time, I'm sure you can attest to how quickly people can fall in love with it. And I know, Fisher, you've done so much on both sides of the camera. You've really done a lot of these documentaries lately, and obviously you won your Oscar for The Cove. Talk a little bit about your attachment to this project. Was this an idea that was presented to you, or did you kind of dig into this yourself a little?
Yeah, well, in 2019, I directed a film with Justin Timberlake called Palmer, and we filmed down in New Orleans, and somebody took me to the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club one night and I had the best time. And then COVID hit. I finished that film, it came out, but COVID hit, and I read an article that all these members of the club, in particular, and black men, were dying of COVID at a much faster rate than most other people. And I noticed like a bunch of people at that club had already died right away. And I thought, wow, this could be a interesting story to tell. And I was on Succession at the time, and we were on hiatus because everything was shut down. I called up Matt, who I'd worked with. Matt was worked with me on Before the Flood, the documentary I did with Leonardo DiCaprio. And I said, Matt, let's go down and film. And I think this might be something for you to direct, because I knew he wanted to direct. And we went down, and that's really when the beginning of the film happened. Is we did all these interviews, and we realized, like, wow, this story is bigger than COVID. This is a story of like a Zulu social aid. This club is fascinating. And even though I thought I knew New Orleans, these guys were opening up a whole new lens for me. And Matt and I just went on this journey together. This took 5 years, but it ended up being one of the great journeys of my life. And I think both of us are really proud. And Matt, being a first-time filmmaker, like got thrown into the fire right away, and I think he just did a remarkable job.
This is one of those, I was fascinated to find out, too, that a lot of the parades you go to, like Bacchus and Endymion, I was in Endymion the year they had Sandra Bullock, and there was someone else who were the king and queen of the parade. But I didn't realize, Zulu, you have to campaign for this. You have to get elected. This isn't something they just hand out, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, and like, they say in the film, other crews don't do it like Zulu do, the lengths that they go through to put on the election of their king and characters for Mardi Gras Day. It's absolutely incredible. It makes for amazing filmmaking just because it's so visual. I mean, you got to imagine they bring in the election machines from the state of Louisiana with the state of Louisiana monitors there, the same election machines that you'll use for a presidential election to elect the king and characters for Mardi Gras Day that will roll for Zulu for that year. So it's just an incredible process, but it really shows the investment of the brothers of Zulu and how they approach this and how important it is. They say it in the film, it's a make-believe position, but it holds so much power and allure and authority and beauty, through not just in the Zulu organization, but throughout the community. We were told of a story of from Brother Jay Banks, who was the king of Zulu, who was standing in line in a grocery store in New Orleans, and a woman turns around and sees him standing there. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're King Zulu. You have to get in front of me in this line. I can't wait. Have the king of Zulu standing behind me in line and not let him go forward." It just shows, how affecting the Zulu organization is on everyday life in New Orleans.
And I think it's important to realize, this story is also a bit of a history lesson as to what the experience, the black experience in particular, was for people in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really wanted to show in the film, which Matt did so beautifully, is to make people understand other people's lives. And in this time of polarization, where the country is being kind of torn apart by this person or that person not understanding, if we could all just kind of see each other's points of view, I think the country will come closer together. And if we could all just be part of a community, and the Zulu Club is one of the greatest communities I've ever been able to witness. These people come together and they help each other, they support each other, they pick each other up when they fall down. And I think it would be a great lesson for all of us if we can start treating each other with that kind of respect all across the country. So anyway, it was a great privilege to be part of that and to witness that. And we do give a bit of historical context to the city of New Orleans, and we do it in a way that's really, I think, fun and with beautiful images and not in a very entertaining way.
I went down a rabbit hole as I was exploring some of the stuff from the Zulu, and I didn't realize it almost went away during the civil rights movement, dwindled down to maybe 12 to 15 members left. Because there was that whole with the blackface thing, civil rights. Well, we can't do that. And it's just fascinating. This club has endured and gone on through COVID, through the civil rights movement. It's a fascinating glimpse into this slice of New Orleans life that the two of you have created. I'm so excited for other people to see it. What do you each want to be the biggest takeaway that a person gets after watching A King Like Me? We'll start with Matthew.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that was a standout moment for me, because not only did I direct this, I filmed a lot of this documentary myself. And when I rolled with Zulu for Mardi Gras 2022, I rode on the Zulu float with our main character, Terrence Rice. And what I saw, the perspective that I saw of the way that the city not only just embraces, but celebrates Zulu by, the throngs of people. I'm talking 20, 25, 30 rows deep throughout the 7.2 miles of the Mardi Gras route. And, the excitement in their eyes, with their voices, how they celebrate this crew as they move through the city. Like Fisher mentioned just a while ago, it really shows you and showed me throughout the course of making this film that Zulu has found a way to transcend race and politics and class. I mean, it's something that the organization strives to do internally, where, you can be a dog catcher or a garbage man and sitting next to, in the Zulu Club, a presidential advisor or state senator, and everyone in the Zulu Club is treated the same. And that's what I see on the parade route on Mardi Gras Day. And that's what I'd like, people to see throughout the course of our film, the fact that, we can celebrate our differences. We can have conversation and debate about things that we don't agree with. But at the end of the day, we are all human. We all are here on this soil together, and we have to try to figure out a way to work together. And that's something that the Zulu Club works to do, the 364 days out of that one day that they ride for Mardi Gras.
I mean, I echo that. I think that is it, and people think they know everybody's story, but, to see this story told the way it is, hopefully it'll open people's eyes. And also, it's a fun ride, and the music's great, and it's a beautiful ride, and we want to entertain people while they get inside of these lives in New Orleans. And if you think you know your New Orleans, you don't, unless you've been part of this club. This is a whole new part of New Orleans that you didn't know.
And I know I've got a very limited amount of time with you, but the movie geek would never forgive me if I didn't ask Fisher. One of my favorite filmmakers is Wes Anderson. You've got to work with 4 of his projects. Just very briefly, if you could tell, you're already a seasoned actor by the time you got your first part in one of his movies. Talk a little bit about what his movie making did for your acting career. Did it make you a better actor? Did you see things differently? Just very briefly.
Well, I think Wes, who's one of my great friends, first of all, besides me acting in his movies, we're really good friends. I just love his vision, and I love that he is able to create these worlds. And the way he works in a very democratic way where all the actors get paid pretty much the same. We all eat together. We all stay in the same hotel. He creates like an ensemble, like a theater company group. And I'm actually from a theater company called Naked Angels originally. I feel like he takes you back to your roots as an actor and as a performer. And it's a wonderful environment. And, you get to work with the coolest actors and the coolest designers, whether it's the DP or the costume designer, and being part of that world is just, it's a dream. I think he taught me more about directing and about filmmaking than he did. Acting is great, but it's really like watching his vision as a filmmaker is what inspires me as a filmmaker. And, I just feel very blessed to have had those experiences with Wes and to know him. I will say, just as a friend, he's a great person. He's a great human being. So definitely was lucky to have those experiences and hope to have more.
Hopefully so. And again, if you're listening right now, make sure you check out A King Like Me, now available on Netflix. Fisher Stevens, Matthew O. Henderson, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you, Jim. Be well. I feel like I could have kept talking to them for so much longer, but we had to end it there. Speaking of ending it there, I'm not going to have time to get to my Kimberly Sustad interview, talking about the Hallmark series, Christmas at Sea. However, I do have the information for that series if you want to check it out. I will play that interview next week probably, but as of Monday, tomorrow, the 7th of July, you can check out Christmas at Sea on the Hallmark Channel. It is a 4-part series, and it's like a reality show. All these Hallmark stars like Kimberly, like Aaron Cahill, like Paul Campbell, like Taylor Cole are on this cruise with these Hallmark super fans, and it's a very well done, very touching, very funny series you can check out. So for those of you who want to get your little fix of Christmas in July, that'll be a great series for you to check out, give you something new to watch on the Hallmark Channel. Again, as of the 7th, tomorrow, the 7th of July, you can check that out. But I get to talk to her about a couple of other series that she worked on, like Supernatural, like Travelers, this series called Alcatraz. It only lasted 1 season. It was such a waste because it was such a great show with a lot of potential. But I got to ask her all those questions too while we talked about her work on the Hallmark Channel. And I want to make sure we tell you guys about Two Rivers Comic Con. If you guys had fun at the last one, we're coming back. We're doing another Two Rivers Comic Con. The dates on this one have been announced. It is April 25th and 26th of 2025. 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. We will be at the Steel Shop in historic St. Charles. So one of the 2 buildings that we used, we're using just that building next year. With all the construction going on, it kind of made it a little unwieldy to try to split it between 2 locations this coming year that we did this past year. So we're going to have it just in the one building. So you can check out on Instagram. You can follow us there at 2 Rivers Comic Con. And you can also check out the website 2 riverscomiccon.com. You can follow us on Twitter as well, or X, I guess, as it's now called. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/2 Rivers Comic Con for all updates there. Well, so far, we've just announced the date. Again, that's the 25th and 26th of April in 2026. And we have given the theme. The theme is 80s and 90s. So if that sounds exciting to you, I can't wait till you hear some of the guests we've already got lined up and we're reaching out to other ones. We're hoping to have our first announcement that we can officially say coming here towards the end of this month. So stick around, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter for more updates as those come. You'll be able to get tickets available. We'll probably put tickets on sale in October, give you a good 6-month window to get tickets for this, and that way we'll have some announcements by then and kind of keep the ball rolling as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure also that you check out the Justice League Unlimited podcast. This is the podcast that we do with Susan Eisenberg. I should say that I do with Susan Eisenberg. And, of course, Joey V helps us out with that as well, getting that up and online because I'm technically inept. I cannot do these things on my own. That's why I rely so heavily on Joey V, who is a master at all of the technical aspects of this. But yeah, Justice League Revisited. We are now covering the Unlimited section. We went through Justice League itself, that series. We are in season 1 of Justice League Unlimited. We just dropped our episode with Kid Stuff with Joaquin Dos Santos. You might know that name because he directed the Across the Spider-Verse movie. He directed that. And he's hugely involved with animation. If you looked at his IMDb resume, you'll go insane with all the cool projects he got to work on. So we talked to him when he was directing some of these Justice League Unlimited episodes for season 1. He kind of traded off with our good friend Dan Reba. So Kid Stuff is up online now. You can go back. We had a great interview with James Tucker on our last episode. We had Ken Schreiner, the voice of Green Arrow, who was introduced in Justice League Unlimited. And of course, we've already covered 2 of the episodes. In addition to Kid Stuff, we covered Initiation with writer Mark Waid, because he has the new Justice League Unlimited series he's doing for DC Comics. So I figured there was a nice parallel. And then, of course, writer who's been on this show several times as well, J.M. DeMatteis, who wrote the story, The Man Who Has Everything. Not the story, obviously. We know that was in the comic books originally, but he adapted it for Justice League Unlimited. So all those are backlogged. And then if this is news to you, check out the series itself, Justice League Revisited. You go back and see all the cool episodes we've done covering Justice League. We had a great tribute to the great Kevin Conroy. We've had the entire cast on, from Carl Lumley to Michael Rosenbaum to Susan herself. Some of the writers, some of the directors, and the musicians like Dynamic Music Partners. So if you're a Justice League fan, check out the Justice League Revisited podcast. Justice League Revisited, wherever you get your podcasts from. We're back next week on Sunday with Game Over Greggy. We're going to be talking all things gaming with him. I think he'll have seen Superman by then too. I know I am seeing Superman tomorrow. I've got a press screener for that. So we might even review Superman. I think Joey V is with us in studio, and I'm hoping Joey is going to go see Superman on Monday. So all of us can review Superman. We saw the new Jurassic Park movie this past Monday. I loved Jurassic Park. Is just a classic. It is a great movie. I mean, it's right up there. Just the groundbreaking special effects they did on that. It's, Steven Spielberg adapting this thing from Michael Crichton, who's a fantastic writer. But this new movie, not the best in the franchise. If you're hoping this was a rebirth or a renaissance for the Jurassic Park movies, not so much. If you're a big fan of if you're a fan of the franchise, go see it on the big screen. I don't want to try to turn you off of a movie. But if you're kind of like lukewarm on the series anyway, this is one you might want to save for streaming. It was hard to get invested in the characters. It's kind of like a plot that you don't care about. Oh, by the way, on this other island that we never told you about, around the time of maybe the third movie, they were doing experiments on mutating dinosaurs, and we never talked about this at all. And this event happened, and we're going to revisit that plot now with a bunch of brand new characters. So it didn't have the same, pardon the pun, bite that the other Jurassic Park movies had for me, and even the Jurassic World movies, which that first Jurassic World movie with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, I really enjoyed that. Vincent D'Onofrio also, and there are a lot of Marvel stars. Not I'm saying that out loud. But yeah, so if you're looking for a summer blockbuster, you might want to wait. Hopefully we'll get some other ones. I'm looking forward to Superman and the Fantastic Four, though. Those will be out this month. So we do have stuff to look forward to. Jurassic Park was kind of not the greatest film, in my opinion, of the franchise. But if you're a fan, you might want to go check it out anyway. Otherwise, save it for streaming. That's going to do it. Shout out to Joey V for streaming this. If you were listening live on YouTube and Facebook, that's all thanks to Joey V streaming the audio at least. And he'll be back in studio next week. We'll have video with Game Over Greggy. Thank you to the City of St. Charles, Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you to Bugs Comics and Games. Thank you to all of you. Listen, I tried to keep up with some of the chats tonight, so thank you very much. Scott from Mostly Superheroes. Yeah, Two Rivers Comic Con. Let's go. 80s, 90s kid here. Same, dude. I cannot wait. I'm very excited. But yes, thank you all for listening. And until next week, my friends.
This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Nolans. Good night.
The Big 550 KTRS St. Louis.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. With more rain, new flooding is possible where there's mass death, injury, and anxiety in the central Texas flood